It's time for City Beat, your source for all the latest news on the city of Thompson. Only on 102.9 CHTM, your radio station.
Good morning and welcome to this November 30th edition of City Beat here on 102.9 CHTM. My name is Stuart Walter and my guest this morning is Mayor Dennis Fenske.
Good morning.
Now, let's talk about the City Council meeting. You weren't there in person as you were at the AMM meeting with a bunch of other councillors, which we'll get into later. That was in Brandon. However, you did join by phone. And the main theme was water. I think that was the most discussed resolutions. It took up most of the time during the question period at the beginning. The first one, which was fairly controversial, Councillor Wong seemed in opposition and had a lot of questions about it. The sourcing for chemicals is what the resolution was about, because as the city is taking over the water processing plant as of the new year, why does the city need to buy the chemicals?
Well, basically, it's a recipe when you have the water and the treatment of the water. And Vale and previously Inco have run the water treatment plant since its inception. And we've been blessed with having great water in Thompson. You'll hear comments from the residents and others that the drinking water in Thompson is the best in Canada. And so from that perspective, you need to be very diligent in how you treat water and how you deliver that commodity to each and every house. So through a number of processes, Vale has gone through the right recipe and the right supplier in regards to the proper chemical that reacts best with the water that we use from the Burntwood River as raw water to treat it and then deliver potable drinking water to each and every house or business in our community. So it's really important that when you have an organization that's been running the water treatment plant since 1960, that you take their advice as to how to maintain the standards that have been set. And so it's really a matter of following good advice, doing our due diligence, and it's been recommended that we proceed with the supplier because of the chemical they supply. And we want to protect the quality of water for Thompsonites for years to come.
One of the other ones to do with water that was well debated was the water rate increase, which is going to be, I believe, coming into effect as of the new year. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Correct.
And then why is the cost going up?
Well, basically, it's based on operating costs, and we had applied for a 3-year rate to the PUB, and have not heard back in regards to approval of that. There is, I believe, a public hearing being held, I believe, January 23rd. Finally, we had to go to interim rates for 2017 because we didn't have approval, and it was advised by us to put an interim rate while the PUB dealt with our application. We're in the same scenario now, is that we need an interim rate for 2018 to cover the anticipated costs, and those are the operating costs and the capital contributions for the wastewater treatment plant. So that's the reason why we brought the rate suggestion forward, or recommendation forward, to put rates in place that we have in place for January 1st.
There seemed to be some confusion in council about the process to change the rate. I know you just talked about it a bit. Could you just clarify what that process is?
Sure. I mean, from the council's perspective, there should be no confusion. The contractor that we hired in regards to the rate study presented this information to the whole of council in 2016 and what the application would be and the process. So we've been through this. We already went through it with the 2017 application for interim rate. So I really have a problem understanding why there's an issue at the council level of understanding the process. From the general public's perspective, they don't deal with this every day. They get a water bill every quarter. They're asking questions, and rightfully so, and we're trying to explain the process. But from a council perspective, we've been in this since the beginning of the water utility, and so there's really no excuse for not understanding the process.
A question was asked during general inquiries at the start of the meeting that I think a lot of people might want to know the answer to. What will happen if the Public Utilities Board doesn't approve the rate increase? Will there be a refund for the time period?
Well, basically, the understanding, and people need to understand, is that the rates are based on the operating costs. This is not a make money venture. You have to break even, and you have to budget accordingly. That's the rules of the game in regards to a water utility. And so whatever our costs are, we have to to recover those costs. If the rates that we've asked for aren't approved, and that creates, and we have to go back to the previous rates in 2017, and that doesn't cover the operating costs of the water utility, then we'll have to go back to the ratepayer to cover the deficit in the next year. So either the rates are approved and it covers the operating costs and the contribution to capital, or they're not approved and they are approved at a lesser rate, and at the end of the day you run a deficit and you have to collect those rates through additional taxes or through from reserves from that. So either way, the utility costs have to be paid for. This is not a venture that makes money. It is one that breaks even on an annual basis.
Moving on to the AMM meetings, which you were in attendance with a large contingent from Thompson. The City Council chamber, I think Max will agree with me, was pretty empty on Monday evening. What were some of the big topics that were discussed? I understand that you spoke about the concerns about additional police and social costs related to the legalization of marijuana.
That was definitely one of the top topics, was the legalization of cannabis as of July 1st, 2018, as the federal government has mandated. That has trickled down to the province in regarding to the retail and supply aspect of cannabis, which trickles down to the municipalities of the question is, are there going to be retail outlets in your community? What are the social costs? And that was one of my points that I raised at the general meeting, was that currently both the federal government and the province are not mentioning funds from the revenue or the taxation of cannabis flowing to the municipalities. The province is saying they are bearing the brunt of the cost of this legislation, so they should receive the higher percentage. The feds are saying that they are doing this legislation, they should receive it. And what's missing is there's no discussion in regards to the municipalities receiving funds, because at the end of the day, we are going to see increased costs in policing. We are going to see increased costs in social programs through addictions and others. And it shouldn't be the expectation for municipal governments to absorb those costs that have been pushed down from the federal government and the province.
What were some of the other big issues that were discussed at the meetings?
Healthcare, again, is big discussion in regards to the current process of trying to control the growing healthcare budget in Manitoba, as well as from the province's perspective, trying to reduce their debt load. So those were big issues. The doctor shortages in rural Manitoba, and processes to put that into place to correct that. Transfer payments. I know the City of Winnipeg is very concerned with the capping of transit fees at 2016 levels, and now with ambulance costs as well being capped. And so from that perspective, it's just a general discussion in regards to funding. A lot of the other issues, or one of the other issues, was the Canada-Manitoba Infrastructure Program and the split in regards to projects. And from the AMM's perspective, and it got support from the general membership, is that the split should be 40% federal funding, 40% provincial funding, and 20% municipal funding on large projects.
You mentioned the ambulances a few minutes ago. That leads into, you had a meeting with Minister Gertson with regards to the ambulance receivables. The city's been chasing this meeting for a while now, I understand. Could you give an update on how that meeting went?
It went well, very well. This is our first meeting with Minister Gertson since the election of the provincial government. And so we did discuss ambulance receivables and the issue that we have in regards to basically having to cash flow the federal government and the province because we're not being paid for the services that we're providing, ambulance services that we're providing. And so we had a good, frank discussion. There is work being done in reducing the red tape in having those invoices paid. So we came away confident that that this will resolve itself over time. The other issues that we talked to with Minister Gertson was in regards to the shortage of assisted living and transitional housing, the expansion of the Northern Spirit Manor, our level 4 care home in Thompson is at capacity, and we need more bed spaces, so we talked about that as well. And in general, we also met with Minister Friesen, the Minister of Finance, in regards to PST issues and a number of other issues. Minister Wharton in regards to government services, the grant in lieu with Valet, Minister Stephenson, the Minister of Justice, in regards to the CSO funding, and we anticipate another discussion by the end of next week, and also Minister Schuler in regards to the Omnitrax situation with Churchill and the port and rail system.
One final thing to talk about from the AMM, you were selected as the new chair of this AMM City Caucus. What is that, and why is it important?
This is a city or a subcommittee of AMM, the Association of Manitoba Municipalities, which represents the 10 cities in Manitoba: Winnipeg, Brandon, and Thompson, Steinbach, Morden, Winkler, all the way down. And so, Mayor Rick Kress from Brandon was the previous chair for the last 2 years. And he was stepping down and asked me if I would let my name stand, and I said that I would. And through acclamation, the group elected me as the chair of the City Caucus. And so what happens is there's usually 4 meetings a year. And we will meet with the AMM board as well as the province of Manitoba on issues that relate to cities in Manitoba. For instance, the cannabis legalization and retail process, the revenue sharing in regards to infrastructure projects and things like that. So basically, it's a committee that lobbies on behalf of the cities in Manitoba.
Moving on, there is a big event happening tonight from the city's perspective. It's the first budget meeting for the 2018 budget.
Yes, this is a budget consultation for the general public. This is your chance to come out to the TRCC at 7 o'clock at the multipurpose room to bring your suggestions in regards to cost reductions and revenue generation. The format will be I'll do a short overview of the operating budget and the categories and where funds are spent and where revenue comes from. And then we'll have flip chart paper on the walls, and there'll be lots of sticky pads on the tables for everybody to write their suggestions down and to put it into 2 columns under each category, 1 column of cost reduction suggestions and the other column of revenue generation suggestions. That will be tabulated, and we will take that information forward to the next budget meeting that Council has early in December. And so I would encourage everyone to come out and bring your thoughts, and even if you don't want to speak in public, you can always write down on the note paper and stick it on the wall, and we'll take that information back to our budget meetings.
And then I understand that you're also launching the budget survey at the same time.
Correct. The online budget survey is located on Thompson.ca, and you'll see when the homepage comes up, it says budget survey. Just click on that. It takes 5 minutes to figure out, to fill out, and it's just talking about placing importance in the various areas of our budget, from least important to most important. We would really encourage people responding to that. Last year, I think we had about 154 responses. I'd like to see at least 500 responses this time, so it's very easy to do. Just click on Thompson.ca, follow the link to the budget survey, and fill it out, and click submit at the end.
It's a pretty busy weekend in terms of hockey. I think both the midget AAAs and AAs, as well as the bantam AAAs, are all in town playing this weekend. But there's an event going on Saturday that's going to help those less fortunate in the community. Absolutely. This is the RCMP and Fire and Emergency Services toy drive supporting the Salvation Army. They'll be located in front of Walmart in the parking lot. They'll have their trucks and vans there to load it up. It's from 2 to 5 Saturday afternoon. And so if you've got or if you've purchased any toys that are shouldn't be wrapped, they should be packaged and drop them off. They will be distributed to those in need by the RCMP and Fire Emergency Services. So get out and support our first responders as they support the kids in town. Now, I think this is one that a lot of people will be interested in from now until the spring when all the snow is gone. What's the latest on the snow removal? Yeah, the snow removal is ongoing. We're currently we're in the Riverside area and the Burntwood Trailer Court area. We're cleaning up the windrows in the Burntwood Trailer Court. We will be working through the weekend on a 5 a.m. to 1 a.m. 2-shift process, hopefully having the complete community done by the end of the weekend, barring no additional snow. We did get snow back to back to back, so that's the issue of why we had to why we were slowed down. But just from a safety perspective, please be aware of snow piles, be aware of large equipment, give the sanding trucks lots of distance, and give the graders and the loaders lots of distance as well. And especially in the school zones,
The snow piles that are created are attractive to kids going to and from school. So be aware of the children in the school zones and all over the city, but especially in the school zones, and make sure that you're watching out for them who may be sliding off these attractive hills. So and the kids to be aware of traffic in those areas as well.
We have a submitted question with regards to the snow removal. The question comes from Mike. It says, I'm wondering why the city allows the roads to get in such bad shape throughout the winter. There are sections of Centennial Drive near where he lives that apparently look like ski moguls, followed by a patch that looks like it hasn't been plowed all winter. I don't have the money to buy a big truck, and I'm stuck driving my old Pontiac, which I'm scared is going to break down every time I drive in the area. Thanks for your time, Mike.
Sure, good comment. And again, we try as hard as we can to get to all the areas as quick as we can. The Centennial Burntwood area will be in the next couple days. I drive that street almost daily, and I concur. It is not the best, and so patience is what I ask for, and due diligence in regarding to driving the conditions of the road. But we will get to the streets done as quick as we can. We have 3 graders, a couple loaders, and 4 trucks out. And again, as I mentioned, we'll be working from 5 a.m. to 1 a.m. on double shifts right through the weekend. So hopefully Centennial will be done in the next couple days.
And then finally, winter games. Let's have our update there, which we'll probably talk about until the games are over.
Absolutely. We're less than 100 days away, and so people are starting to get excited. Again, just a reminder, shopping online for Christmas gifts. There's a really good collection of material and merchandise that you can purchase for Christmas gifts. So go online to the Manitoba Games site, and you can shop there. As well as this weekend, we're hosting Sport Manitoba from down south as we go through the second host society tour, as we go through the final checks as where we are to date and in the preparation for the games. And last but not least, again, we'll continue to call for volunteers. And again, anybody that has issues in regards to registering online, the YWCA is offering assistance in that. It's a very quick method to get you registered as a volunteer. We encourage everyone to support the games as we move forward. In addition, the corporate sponsors as well. I know that the economic times aren't the best, but Thompson seems to come to the forefront when we have events like this. So if you have the opportunity and if you have the ability, please support the games, not only with your time as volunteers, but financially if you can as well.
Well, thank you so much for joining me this morning, Mayor Fenske.
Thank you.
If you have any questions you'd like answered next week, email them in advance to CHTMnews@arcticradio.ca. For City Beat here on 102.9 CHTM, I'm Stuart Walter.
City